Hey, this is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast NH. This is a podcast designed by writers for writers on the journey to being published. Joined Mandra Biscornet.
It was so healthy and nutritious.
Deborah Monk.
Can we open each podcast with a dance number?
Shelly Devlin.
It was so full of inspiration and sparkles.
Every Tuesday morning live on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to catch the podcast anytime on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. It's time to be inspired, feel empowered, and be well with the Writer's Block Podcast NH.
And welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast. I'm Mandra.
I'm Debbie.
And I'm Shelly.
And thank you for joining us at the Writer's Block, where our mission is to inspire, empower, and help people be well.
And I am the voice of God.
And that is our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Jonathan. Today's show is about an important part of your writing, the dialogue. We're going to examine how to write good dialogue and certain pitfalls to avoid. Personally, for me, I look forward to the dialogue when I'm reading a book. I think, oh my gosh, something exciting is about to happen or be said or be revealed. So it's kind of a nice break from that narrative when you see the quotes and the shorter lines. So you want to make sure it's good because I think a lot of readers really like that part.
For those of us that don't understand what big words are, what exactly is the dialogue?
The dialogue is when your characters are speaking.
So everything between the little
quotes.
Doot, 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 doot.
Yes, except we found an example of someone who writes dialogue and doesn't use the quotes.
Because he can do whatever he wants.
Just seems wrong.
Apparently.
I don't think that should be called dialogue.
Well, it does develop his character. I mean, you definitely...
It is dialogue. He just chooses not to use them.
He's a rule breaker.
He's a rule breaker for sure.
He's a renegade.
We'll talk about him.
All right. Well, let's start first with what is good dialogue and what is it used for?
Well, good dialogue is supposed to do three things. It should move the story forward. It should reveal things about the character. And it should help you understand the relationship. The interesting thing is that if you use all three of those to kind of filter through your dialogue, that will help you write good dialogue. If it doesn't do all three, at least two, or preferably all three, then it really probably doesn't belong there.
So after you've written some dialogue, those would be the questions to check.
Right.
Does it move the story along or develop a character? And what's the
help you understand the relationship.
Help you understand the relationship. So I'm going to read a little bit of Deb's dialogue.
Oh, I can't wait to see what she picked.
From Well-Behaved Woman Coming Undone.
Shameless plug.
Voice of God, be quiet. And why don't we kind of put it to that test?
Oh, God. Then what if it doesn't pass?
Well, that's okay.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, so I'm going to read a short portion where Jody, who is the adult daughter of Mel, who they've had an estranged relationship, and Mel was an alcoholic for years when Jody was growing up, and Jody has finally, I don't know after how many years they haven't spoken, finally confronted Mel in the country western bar that Mel owns.
Yeehaw!
Right. So we have a recovering alcoholic who hasn't drank in years, owning a bar, and her daughter, who she hasn't spoken to in years, coming in and speaking to her for the first time.
Well, it better be good dialogue. She set that up really well.
That's the setup.
She did.
So Jody has been drinking at this point. This is the adult daughter. I pour myself another shot. I pick it up, then put it back on the counter and push it toward her. Drink it, I say, deathly quiet. Tears pour down her face. I don't want it. You always wanted it. You wanted it more than anything. I stare at her, daring her to deny my words. Jody, please, drink it, I scream. You wouldn't stop drinking for me. The least you can do is drink with me.
Pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. I think it talks a lot about their relationship, understanding their relationship.
Right.
That really, gives you an inside.
Well, it's not an easy relationship, that's for sure.
Well, and the anger that Jody feels, and Mel trying to kind of hold the line of, I'm not going to drink. I'm happy that you're here talking to me, but I'm not going to get pulled into this drunken drama that you've created. And it moves the story along because we've been waiting for this.
Right.
We've been waiting for the two, because Jodi's been going to the bar in disguise. We've been waiting for her to actually go as herself and speak to her.
So that's
mother
the
to do
resentment
so.
has finally bubbled up into a conversation.
I don't remember. Does she wear a fake mustache at any point in the story?
That's
part
so
of her
weird.
Disguise?
No.
He hasn't read the book, but no, of course not. But she does
She
have a
does
wig.
wear a wig, though.
She does wear a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does wear a disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And glasses or something.
Not necessarily a mustache.
Well, then I guess that passes the test. Whew, that's good.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now you don't have to pull it down off of Amazon and rewrite
you're
it.
right.
And rewrite that dialogue.
Yeah.
I know. So there's an example of some good dialogue. What else do we need to do to write good dialogue?
Well, I think one of the best ways that I've heard to is because the problem is if I'm writing dialogue, let's say I'm writing a scene between a Boston police officer and the 16-year-old drug dealer that he's just arrested. If I try to write that, I'm going to sound like Debbie Monk, the ballroom dancer, as a cop,
gonna
pretending
get a
to be a
little
cop.
fluffy.
And so that would be if I don't do it well, that's what it's all going to sound like. It's all going to sound like the author. So
Yeah, both of them are going to be prancing around on the
exactly.
sidewalk, looking at their shoes in the reflection.
The cop-
Making a craft.
And we're going to hear how they're feeling deeply.
So one of the good ways, if I was writing that, I would go to a Boston police station and I would just sit in the waiting room, to kind of sit on a park bench in the location, and I would listen to what the cops sound like, and I would listen to what the people being brought in sound like. So just observing, just going somewhere and sitting. And
So you have to do some research.
yes.
You have to put yourself where you can hear different speech patterns, accents, just word choice,
Yep.
so that it will be more authentic when you write the
And
dialogue.
Let's say my father was a Boston cop. I would then think, well, I know how a Boston cop talks because that's my dad. But when if he was my dad and he was talking to me, he's not going to be talking like he does at work. So it wouldn't really be authentic. I should really go and kind of get a good grasp on what that kind of person would talk like.
Unless he's like me, in which case he doesn't change how he talks to anybody at any time. For any reason, ever.
That's why you don't have a lot of friends.
Aw, come on.
Wow.
He's got
low
three, right?
blow.
Wow, seriously.
Just kidding.
Felt that right in my kidney.
So, okay, so that
So what
would
are we
be one
listening
way.
for? We're listening for
People tend to
speech
speak
patterns?
in long sentences or short sentences. They
Okay.
tend to kind of talk about, someone may talk a lot about feelings or they totally don't talk about feelings. They tend to talk colorfully or not colorfully. You can tell how educated someone is often by the way they speak. You can tell how old they are, even if you can't see them. Like an older person would talk different than a younger person. So...
and then you want to be consistent and carry that
Right.
throughout. So whenever that character speaks, it's similar word choice. If they're
Well, it goes to your point last week about creating a bio for your character, and this
Yes.
is the building block on that character, and this is how the character has lived its life and will continue to speak because it's been affected by whatever stuff was in that bio is going to change the speech pattern for that person.
Right.
And you're not going to just report the bio throughout the book. So the way you're going to reveal some of those things is through the dialogue.
Right.
The way that, yeah.
Right,
So-
back to the character development,
Right.
the dialogue. Let's spend a little time on accents, because there's some different
Y'all.
way. Yeah.
Well, funny, just last night in my writing group, one of the guys was writing a German soldier. And so he wrote everything out. He spelled it out with a German accent. And so it was right. He wrote W-E-E-E-L, wheel, I think. And he wrote T-H-E-E-N-K.
Why does your German sound Asian?
Well,
That's the problem.
yes.
That is definitely
You
the problem.
can't necessarily write
Right.
an accent like that.
But something
can't.
that's German is choppy, for starters. That you're going
Yes.
to pantomime a German accent. It's choppy. It's going to be guttural.
Right.
So in your signal words about what is going on in that phrasing, you may say he barked gutturally, or with a guttural
Well, but
tone.
we don't want those L-Y words because you're telling then. So you're trying
But
to
we
tell
would
us.
have to, I think you had an example of what you told this
Well, my suggestion
person.
was use something like the soldier from Colonel Klink from
So a
Hogan's
reference.
Heroes. So if the first time he sees him, he says he looks like the German soldier from, then everybody's going to hear him talking like that character. No, I don't know if everybody would know that one, but
Right.
he seemed to think that was a good way to fix it.
But then there are accents, dialects within our own country that you can sort of write.
And you have to just do it carefully. Just
Right.
do a few. You don't want to get, inundated. You don't want to turn the reader off. And I think Shelly has an example of where she felt turned off.
And it wasn't that I was turned off. I was just lost because
It distracted
you. All
you.
know it distracted me. And ironically, the grammar distracted me, which any of
Which
you
is
know
hilarious.
is hilarious that's for me. But in the book, The Help, I just highlighted a few things. And one of the sentences was, let's hope the lemon don't kill him. And I was like, why is she not saying doesn't? Doesn't.
Because she doesn't say
Because she
doesn't.
doesn't say doesn't.
Right.
She says don't.
That's
why
how she
don't the
talks.
lemon kill him?
Right.
And then she said, I ain't mad at her no more. And look at there. She done lost some weight. Mm-hmm. So it does put you, if I knew that the book was 1962 Mississippi, but of course, and Deb
I was
likes this
just
part,
thinking, this kind of sounds like what I would expect Aunt Jemima to sound.
Yes. Because
It's
I
set
didn't
in that
know
historical
the
time frame,
historic
so-
view of this book
Right.
because I bought it because Oprah told me to buy it. I mean, it wasn't a personal phone call to me, but she did say
Oh,
that
Oprah doesn't
Yes.
call you personally? Because
Yet.
Jonathan has a Skype call
calls
set
me.
up with her.
She calls you, does she?
Yeah.
Does she?
If she did, I would just steal his phone and wait.
My most favorite part here, too, was not only changing the real words to make the sentence grammatically, technically incorrect, but the spelling. The spelling. I loved school, the reading and the writing, except the arithmetic. Sept, C-E-P-T. Are
Yeah,
you
but
kidding
that's
me?
to get you to hear.
I hear it, but I'm
Except
distracted.
arithmetic.
I can hear my dad. Like, he's like, here's your sign.
yeah, but that's your that's your BS coming out.
It is. It
But I don't think that's
absolutely is.
because me hearing it, I'm endeared to the character because she's
Yes.
using the word sept.
And I think that is
Instead
good
of accept.
dialogue. It is good dialogue.
It is a
just
good way to
distracted
do
me.
an accent because I could totally hear it in my head the way these women were speaking to each other based on how it was written.
It's subtle,
Well-
but it is just enough.
And the
Yeah.
fact
To
that
drive the
Jonathan
thought home.
knew it was,
Right.
thought it was Aunt Jemima before he even knew, she obviously did a great job. She
right.
said it.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
But if you're
it's
not
good.
expecting that, I think that's what pulled you out of the book. But I
Right.
think they, who's the author?
But it was great dialect.
Catherine. Yes. Stop.
We're talking about The Help.
Yes.
A little book that probably nobody knows much about.
Just Oprah and Shelley.
Exactly.
Apparently.
And the movie, all the people who saw the movie.
Exactly.
And then you had some other dialogue from a different book. This is the book where they didn't use quotes, correct?
So, and again, Jonathan's right. Personal preference, my own BS. Why We Suck from Dennis Leary. Love this book. But I had to put it down because as in a management role, I found myself becoming much more sarcastic after reading his book.
See, wait a minute.
that's-
See, this is the other thing that you let us know is that when you read dialogue,
book that
you,
she gets
you
pulled
start
into.
talking that way.
I
So
started
you,
talking like Aunt Jemima.
you started
and
saying y'alls and
I
all
started
that
getting
and
a
your steps.
little
And then when-
non-filtered.
And then when you read
Like
Dennis,
Dennis
Leary,
Leary.
you started like throwing the F-bombs around.
One of the things
Yes.
that makes Shelly so fabulous is she has this pristine, unwritten little hard drive. So when she downloads new information, that becomes her Facebook profile
Yes.
for a little while.
For the week, yeah.
Until she reads a new thing. And then that becomes her. It's pretty
Can't
awesome.
help it. There's a lot of people that live up there. I'm telling
Pretty
you
awesome.
right now. Now, I don't think, and again, I don't think Dennis Leary has great dialogue at all. And when I flip through the book and I see, very short, they're not even sentences, one word back and forth between him and his mom.
Right.
You get lost because you don't know who's talking. It's one word back and forth. No, it's Dennis. Oh, Dennis, how are you? I'm good. Hey, Ma, Mr. Timmons died of cancer. Who? That was that wasn't us. I told you. It's Dennis, Ma. It's not funny, Brian. Quit smoking. Like, I don't even know who's talking anymore. But again, he doesn't care.
Right.
Because what led up to that dialogue told you what was going on. So you could get lost. It didn't move you along. It was just a funny that was added in. And again, it's not, obviously it's not a story. It's more of a, what does he call it? A part memoir, part
Because at first I'm excited, oh, there's dialogue coming. But then I see it's like a whole page and
too
then
much.
some.
Of one-liners.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and the other thing is Dennis Leary himself is a character that you know. So when you pick up his book, you're hearing it
You know
from
what you're
Dennis
getting
Leary.
from Dennis Leary.
Right.
And for the podcast purposes, we are attempting, at the very least, to educate the listener on how to make their book more marketable. He's already marketable.
He's already marketable.
He's
got
already a brand.
Yes.
It could be poop on a shingle. People are going to buy it.
Right.
So he doesn't have to adhere to the rule. And his editor probably said, you can't do this. And he gave him 2 middle fingers.
Right.
And said, I'm doing it.
I'm not using the
with
damn
or
quotes.
without you.
Correct.
Right. Exactly.
Correct. Because he does it all, whatever he wants to do. He's already there.
Right.
So he
Read that other
and
little
the
part.
reality,
You love this one.
I do
So
love
this
this
is
one.
completely not grammatically or written correct, or any editor would be like,
Yeah.
no. Right? He literally in
Parentheses.
writes warning type tone.
So he's telling. He's totally
telling you, but his mom is doing a warning type tone. Dennis mocking her warning type tone in parentheses. Ma.
Yeah.
Like, who does that?
And when I read warning
Well-
type tone, I thought like a phone was buzzing or a tornado warning was coming. I didn't get, I didn't get that he meant that's how to say the
That's
word.
because
Exactly.
you're both women. I
Yeah.
got it immediately.
Did you really?
did?
Immediately.
That's
and
so interesting.
For me, anyways, it did move the story along.
All right.
Well, and I think we all would admit, I think even Dennis Leary would probably admit he's not known for writing. That's not his actual author, is not his number one skill.
No, but
he's done a great job developing a
In his
character.
stand-up and in his acting,
Yes.
he is the guy that would use the warning type tone and mock the warning type tone. So you can, anyways, for me, I can hear
You
him
heard it right
delivering
away.
that perfectly.
Yeah.
Well, he's on the show Animal Kingdom now, where he plays a guy who's come back and he's just reconnecting with his surfer son, and he's shooting up heroin all the time, and he's giving it to a 16-year-old girl. He's playing a perfect, that's a role we can all see him playing.
he has no filter. He'll do whatever.
Right.
We're going to do a little example of bad dialogue.
I
Okay.
love this.
Yes,
I love
Mandra and I
this.
are
I love
gonna
this
do this.
banter. You're
Okay,
gonna
we're
do
going to do this banter, and then we'll tell you why it's bad. Well, you'll probably know why.
yeah.
You'll
I
probably
should hope
hear
that they know
it's
why
bad.
it's bad.
Yeah.
While they're driving, listen. This is bad dialogue.
Hi, Deb. How are you?
I'm fine, Mandra. How are you?
I'm doing well. Should we order some coffee?
Yes, please. I like mine with sugar and 3 creams, but I also like it in a to-go cup so that it stays warm.
I'll take it. Let's see, decaf. I hope they have coconut milk. Should we get the waitress over here?
That would be lovely.
You guys just did the worst example of showing a bad example.
What do you mean? That
Because you didn't even sound like people. One of
sounded like a robot.
I don't know why.
I was going to say,
sound
one
like
of
a
you sounds
robot.
like a robot, and I wasn't going to mention Deb's name. 'cause-
She's doing it. I'm like, was I supposed to do that too? I didn't know it had to really be bad.
I don't know why I did it.
So clearly, that's not good dialogue.
Because it doesn't move the story forward. It doesn't reveal anything about either one of us
No.
except how we take our coffee, and who
it's-
cares?
right.
And it doesn't help us understand the relationship at all.
Right. So you need to really edit. You don't need the pleasantries. You don't need the, hi, how are you? Great, I'm fine.
Right.
A lot of things can be implied that a waitress or a server is going to come over and take your order if you've already set the scene up in a restaurant.
You
so
don't
there
need
are
to hear the
those-
waitress writing down what you're going to order.
You want to really pare it down and get right down to like the meat of it.
So you want it to sound like real life, but skip the boring parts.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, a waitress, unless the waitress is germane to the story,
Exactly.
the waitress
or
is
the
taking
coffee.
your order.
Yeah.
If I'm going to kill, if I've poisoned Mandra's coffee, now we might want that whole dialogue.
Well, you want to be able to add the coffee, if that's your poisoning, you want to be able to add the coffee as a character.
Well,
Short of that, it doesn't matter.
belong. Doesn't matter.
You're ordering a cup of coffee.
Right.
Give me
Right.
my coffee black, move on.
Right. And then we get down to
And if you don't drink it black, you're an evil person and you don't deserve to live anyway. So.
If you don't drink with lots of cream and lots of sugar, you're not a sweet
so
person.
Deb, did you get the poison already?
I did. I got the poison. And since you and I know about it, guess who's getting poisoned? Shelley,
Poor
don't drink your
Shelley.
coffee.
They're killing me off. I wasn't here last week.
She started talking like a
Kinda
German
killed yourself off.
Did I
soldier.
kill
We're
myself
done.
off?
Oh my gosh. All right. So I think that's
I think we did a great job.
it for our dialogue section. We are going to take a little walk around the neighborhood and do some project updates. I'll start.
Go, Mandra.
I have a really exciting one. On Thursday, my husband Brad and I are going to the New England Organ Donor Association and giving a talk. So we are speaking, and we're like guest speakers, telling Brad's story to other folks that have either received transplants or are donor families.
That is so awesome. That is awesome. What a great thing to do now. You said he's spoken before. How often has he done this? And this is his 10-year anniversary.
Right. This is his 10-year anniversary. He's done it a few times, but this will be the first time that we're going to this type of thing together.
And before Jonathan says it, you will be plugging your book, correct?
If there's a good time to mention it, I will mention
You
it.
will find the good time to
Yes.
mention it.
My reputation precedes me.
But it's also going to be good practice because hopefully down the line I can do more of this.
Right.
And your
These
business
speaking
cards will be
engagements.
in your pocket.
Yes, they
Yes.
will, Shelley.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And
You're
so-
writing business cards.
Correct. Yes.
Not your dance teacher ones.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think I have any more of those. Deb.
Well, I think I mentioned last week that I was working on this little handmade book, a short story, story time for grown-up women. And this week I got the cover art. So I'm very excited.
Are we going to see that?
I'm hoping possibly by Thursday I should maybe have the first one. If there's one more piece that I need to receive to put it together. But if not this week, then by next week I should have a prototype.
All right.
Very
Excellent.
fun. Very fun.
Shelley?
My update is I have been emailing back and forth with Dawn, my editor, and it's been a therapy session on the email back and forth, which is great. You know, I sent her a quick email because I haven't sent her pages in a while. I wanted to really put a good substance together to send her. It wasn't working to send her one story at a time. For me, it wasn't working. I needed to send her a bunch or a completed package, a good chunk. And I hadn't done it. So I just sent her an email. Literally, it was 2 lines. It said, I'm in the quicksand or the woods and I don't care and I'm not coming out. And I hit send. And she's like, do you want to call me? And then I emailed her back and I said, I'm pretty sure that this would be a very expensive therapy session. So, and then I gave her a bunch more. And we emailed back and forth it probably should have been a phone call, but it was perfect because it kind of pulled me out again. And it's been working with you guys at the writers group when we get together, where we do the homework like I feel like
So
I'm
we're
that kid
doing
that has to
Shelley
stay after
live.
school.
Yeah, we do Shelley live. We edit in real time, and she puts the changes in real time, and that seems to be working better.
Yes,
for
because
you.
I cannot be trusted to go home and put those changes in. Because then I get home and I go, I don't know what they meant.
Exactly.
Yes.
So great. So
it's
Dawn
going
pulled
good.
you out.
Plugging
and got
along.
you-
Plugging
Excellent.
along.
I've got a little update.
Oh, Jonathan.
do? What
Oh
is it?
yeah, I
Do
got
tell.
3 kidney stones, and they haven't passed yet. But I'm drinking my weight in water and liquids, and hoping something magical happens.
We hope so
We
too.
wish you well.
Yes.
But I can tell you this:
We're pulling for
got
you.
a good idea what childbirth feels like.
And I
No,
can tell
you
you
don't.
this.
A good idea.
Thank you, Mandra.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just a good idea.
And it hasn't even passed yet.
Oh.
So,
I hit my 10 out of 10.
yeah, it was
Is that
scary.
all on the pain scale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was teaching on Friday, get that
Jeez.
call.
Yikes.
I'm in the ambulance.
Well, good luck, Jonathan. We hope you feel better. And thank you for listening. Please check out the Writer's Block NH Facebook and the Writer's Block podcast on your favorite podcast catcher. May you be inspired, feel empowered, and be well. Attention cigar smokers or even friends of a cigar smoker. If you're looking to relax with a nice premium cigar or looking for a great gift for a cigar smoker, this is the gift that keeps on giving. Our friends at twoguyscigars.com have created the Cigar of the Month Club. For just $19.99 per month, you or a friend will receive 4 different premium handmade cigars every month, and shipping and handling is included.
Contact twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com, and go to the Cigar of the Month Club. You can stop anytime because there's no contract, but you won't. This is a tremendous deal for our listeners. Go to twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com and click the Cigar of the Month Club.
At the same time, if you want to learn more about the cigars you receive each month, you can smoke along with them on our own podcast called The Cigar Authority. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a nice premium cigar from our friends at twoguyscigars.com.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21, Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.